Hey friend, and welcome back to the Alex Makes VR podcast. In today's episode, I am sidestepping away from VR and I want to talk about something that I think we're all suffering from a little bit, and that is being on our phones too much. If you have been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I love to kind of change it up occasionally and talk about mindset, self-development, business mindset, life in general, big picture thinking. One thing that has been really painfully obvious to me over the last couple of months is that I'm spending far too much time on my phone. And look, I'm not going to be one of those people that demonizes technology, because technology is phenomenal. The fact that we have gone through this pandemic and we have still been able to live relatively normal lives in terms of being able to connect with friends and family and continue our work majoritively over the internet. Technology is awesome. As someone that works in the technology industry, I'm not going to sit here and say that technology is a bad thing. However, if you're anything like me, you will notice a direct correlation between the amount of time you spend on your phone and the deterioration of your mental health. I find when I spend too much time on my phone, I generally am more anxious. My brain feels scattered. I feel on edge. I feel like at any moment I am expecting, wanting, or just kind of like needing like some kind of notification, some kind of dopamine rush. I just find it generally harder to concentrate. I find it more difficult to stick to a schedule. I find it difficult to follow through on an idea. I find it difficult to have clarity with thoughts. You will notice that I go through patterns on the podcast of sometimes being way more rambly than other times. And I think generally, sometimes it can come down to the fact that if I've spent too much time on my phone and not enough time like communicating or being out in the world and just being with my thoughts, I find it really difficult to pull together sentences sometimes, which is not great as someone that makes a living as a communicator. So if any of that resonates with you, I've got a few tips for you that I've been trialing, and they really do work. They have really helped. They've really helped me kind of switch off a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, I'm still on my phone all the time, and I like being on my phone to some extent. And I think the fact that I can be doing this, I can be recording this podcast on my phone, and then in the next, moment I could be watching a YouTube video on how to do something that 10 years ago I would have had to go to school for 4 years to learn how to do, like stock trading or, marketing or something like that. And then I could also then be on a phone call with a friend who lives on the opposite side of the world. There's so much good that comes from being on my phone. But these are some tricks that I've kind of instigated that have made me feel so much better about my relationship with my phone, and has kind of weaned me off of that addictive cycle of being on it all the time. So here's some tips for you. The number one thing is turn your notifications off. And this can be so scary. This can be really scary to do. In fact, for a long time, I really resisted this because I was so scared that someone would need me or like some work would come through and I would miss the call, I would miss the email, I would miss the message. I would miss the alert about, some breaking news that was happening in the industry. I would be behind, that I had all notifications on for all apps. Now, I have all notifications turned off except for iMessage. And the only reason I leave iMessage on is because that is the only way that my family communicates with me. WhatsApp is mainly where I communicate with friends and colleagues. And I will sometimes leave WhatsApp notifications on. It depends. If I'm going through a stint where I really need to be focused and I know that there's nothing really pressing that could be kind of coming up on WhatsApp, I'll turn off WhatsApp notifications too. I never have group notifications on. Don't know about you, but I'm in 1,000,001 groups, and my God, those notifications would just come in thick and fast if I let them. So turn off notifications. If you're someone that has loads of apps on your phone, turn off all notifications apart from the core ones, like the one that, you know, is where your family gets in touch with you. Even that, to some extent, I feel like I know in my heart I don't really need the notifications for iMessage on, because I know that if anyone really needed me and my family, they would call me. And that's the thing to remind yourself when you're like, oh, I don't know whether I can do that because, you know, for my job, I need to do X, Y, Z, or I need to be contactable all the time. Just remind yourself that if something urgent really, really was happening, they would call you, you know, you would get a phone call. It's very rare that you get a phone call out of the blue these days, you know, usually scheduled in ahead of time. So if someone needs you urgently, they will call you. Just try it. Try it for even just like a few hours, and you will be amazed the relief that you find when you don't get interrupted every 5 minutes by notifications coming through thick and fast. Another thing that I've done is, and I've done this for ages now, is I don't keep social media apps on my phone. This is why my social media posting and consumption of social media has dropped drastically, and I feel so much better for it, because I don't keep the apps on my phone. I don't have Instagram or Twitter. The only one I do have is Facebook, but I have a kind of private Facebook account that I don't have any friends on, and it's purely because there is one particular fitness community that I'm a member of, that I pay to be a member of, that is like kind of, you know, weekly live Q&As with some fantastic high-level fitness trainers. I pay to be a part of that, but I use a separate Facebook account for it. I don't have my main public, you know, the one with all the friends and the one that's following all the groups and the one that's constantly being bombarded by notifications. Don't have that on my phone. So within that, I've kind of alluded to already, not having social media apps on your phone, but also take it one step further. Have a separate private social media account that you use to follow just the very specific accounts that will actually enrich your life. So for me, on my Alex Makes VR social medias, I absolutely love it. I love going in there and seeing all the messages and seeing all the, you know, all the comments that I need to reply to. I love seeing all of the content and all the people that I follow, but it is so overwhelming. If you're anything like me, you can go on Instagram intending to post something and be lost in the content for 2 hours because you've watched 1,000,001 stories, you've replied to a load of DMs, you've like scrolled the feed a little bit, you've got sucked into the explore page. Oh, what's that person doing? Oh, what's that? Okay, let me go down that rabbit hole. Before you know it, 2 hours later, you're like, what did I even go on here for? oh yeah, I was supposed to be posting that thing that I've not done now. So for me, what was really, really kind of like a nice change of pace and really quite exciting was, instead of like cleansing my own social medias of like all the people that I didn't want to follow, because it's not that I don't want to follow loads of people, it's just that you can't be up to date constantly with thousands or hundreds of people and not be affected by that mentally. So what I did is I set up a kind of private, like I said, I've got a private Facebook account and I've also got a private Instagram account which follows literally 3 people, and it's related to business, marketing and fitness. Just 3 people. And usually maybe once a day, but rarely, because the people that I'm following, they do post regularly, but not so regularly that I'm on there like, you know, every single day or a few times a day. I'll just log into that private account. I'll like consume their content. And then that's it. There's no feed to scroll. There's no once I've watched those stories, which is what it's usually for, not really even the feed content, I'll be done. I'll be like, all right, there's nothing else to see here. And then I'll just like delete the app again. And I literally delete Instagram off my phone every single time, which might sound ludicrous to some of you listening, but I tell you what, you know, when you get the itch to like go and look for an app just because you're bored and you're looking for something to do and you just want, like, you're looking for something to just mindlessly consume. and your finger will just go to where the app is on your phone. And before you know it, you're on there and you're scrolling, and it literally took a second for you to get there. Whereas if you delete the app off your phone, if you really want to consume Instagram, then you really have to want it, because you're going to have to go to the app store, download the app, re-log in, and then you can consume the content. So for me, that puts enough of a barrier between me and Instagram so that I don't waste hours of my time on there. Twitter, I don't really log on to Twitter that much anyway. I like occasionally more so use Twitter on desktop, to be honest. And that's another cool hack is don't use social media on your phone, only use it on your computer, because it's a very different experience and it gets boring very quickly. You can really see, like I'm sure loads of you listening have watched The Social Dilemma, the documentary about how these social media apps are literally developed to keep you addicted. And nowhere will you find that more apparent than the desktop experience versus the mobile experience. You will really see the difference between scrolling with a mouse versus scrolling with your finger. It's a totally different vibe. I think there's a bit in The Social Dilemma where they talk about the fact that the scrolling and the pulling to refresh is based on what do you call it? Oh my God, what's it called? What's it called? In Las Vegas, what are they called? Oh my goodness. You're probably screaming at the phone right now. Slot machine. It's like based on a slot machine where you pull the lever and, ding, ding, ding. When you're on desktop, that's not really the case. Like, you don't get the same satisfaction, and therefore it's less addictive. So one of my favorite things to do is to just use Twitter and sometimes Facebook and sometimes Instagram on desktop. Totally different experience, way less addictive. And then my last tip, because what have we talked about so far? We've talked about turning notifications off, deleting social media off your phone. If you're going to use social media, set up a private account that just follows a very select group of people. And also make sure when you are following those people, follow people that really make you feel good about yourself, that are giving value. They're not like just showing off their glamorous life and making you feel crap about yourself. Follow people that actually make you feel good, that make you feel inspired, that educate you in some form. Like I say, my 3 kind of core pillars are usually kind of business / money, like finances. I've been really into like learning about the cryptocurrency market recently and the stock trading, kind of what's happening on Wall Street, given the recent GameStop debacle, which I won't bang on about in this episode. But so, money / business, marketing, fitness, those are my 3 pillars. And I only follow people that really inspire me and offer value and will teach me something. Get into that kind of mindset as well. Don't just follow people for the sake of it. And if you are a content creator that you're putting out content, and this goes for myself as well, I think about that every time I post. I think about, would someone be entertained, informed, educated, inspired, or sometimes even just like feel less alone. Like I sometimes will post on there if I'm not feeling like 1,000,000%, because I want people to know that it's not all sunshines and rainbows. So that also is a really big tip. Make sure you're following the right kind of people with your fake account. And then the last one, and I've done a whole episode on this before, and I always allude to it, and it's so much harder during the winter months. A morning walk to set up your day. I cannot stress this enough. When I wake up and I get straight out and I go on a nice little 20-minute to half an hour walk, I will be on my phone much less during the day, because I'll go out and I'm starting my day out in the fresh air. I'm not looking at my phone. I've put some music on or a podcast, or sometimes just like wandering around listening to nature. Although very rarely, because I am a bit of a podcast fiend, as are you probably, someone who's listening to this podcast. But starting your day like that, starting your day not on your phone, starting your day not fragmenting your attention and getting yourself hyped up on, switching between apps and smashing your attention span to pieces. Starting your day with a nice bit of exercise out in the fresh air, you will feel more collected, You will feel like your thoughts are more gathered. You will feel more kind of ready to tackle the day, and you will feel less likely to want to sit on your phone. If I start my day in bed with a cup of tea, scrolling my phone, that's it. It's kind of game over, because even if I go for a walk after that, I'll already have started my day off with my attention just all over the place. So maybe just try this if you can. I know some of you listening will find that difficult because you'll have families, and you'll have, maybe you don't even suffer from this problem because you have so much going on. But if you are someone that is spending too much time on your phone, whether it's walking indoors, like in your own house, just try and spend like the first 20 minutes of your day not on your phone, whether that be just putting on a podcast or an audiobook or something, just like to kind of like, or journaling or whatever it is, whatever your version of a morning walk is. Just try to start your day not on your phone, because it will make it so much easier. And, you know, the benefits of not being on your phone will not only be that you will find that you will feel less anxious, you'll be happier, you'll be more inspired, you'll be able to get more done. Like your work will probably thank you for it. You know, your ideas will be so much better. You'll get a lot more done. And even if you're not about kind of productivity, or you've not got anything particular that you need to get done, you'll just enjoy a bit more of your life. Your brain won't feel like you've just wasted hours, because that's the problem when you're on your phone all the time, especially when you're like flitting between tasks and like seeing notifications pop up every 5 minutes. You don't even really realize what you've even done. You just feel like you've wasted your time, don't you? You know those days where you get to the end of the day and you're like, I can't even tell myself what I've done today. It's usually because you've just been flitting between tasks, and you've been, oh God, I've got that alert about that email. Oh, okay, well, reply to that now. Oh, but I need to get that text done. Oh, but now I need to message that person back on WhatsApp. Like your attention is too divided to feel like you've accomplished anything. Whereas if you can be a bit more centered and be a bit more intentional and choose to do the tasks you want to do and bulk those things together, you'll get a lot more kind of time on a specific thing and feel a lot more accomplished for it. So that's it for this week. I hope these tips help. Try it out for the next 7 days and let me know how you get on, because honestly, these have been a bit of a game changer during this never-ending Groundhog Day that is the lockdown here in the UK. So I would love to hear from you and see how you get on. Like I said at the beginning, it's Alex Makes VR on all of my social medias. Please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode, if you feel like someone in your network or in your connections would feel inspired and get some value from it, then please screenshot the episode, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, and share it on your social media so that someone else can find the podcast and maybe they can implement this too. Because let's face it, the social media companies and the technology companies, they're not going to be the ones that are trying to keep you away from this stuff. So we got to spread the word. We got to share the love and hold each other accountable. So that's it. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are in the world, and I will speak to you in the next one.